Whew. I don't even know where to begin. All I can do is smile. All I can do is be thankful, show gratitude. And I'm just going to go ahead and give a trigger warning because thugs cry. Thugs cry. This thug cries. At least he's been learning how to do it recently. There literally are no words to explain how I'm feeling right now. And I wanted to do this because I need to. This is part of my story. This is part of my journey. This is part of like my experience, even with the wonderful alarm in the background. If it wasn't me, I wouldn't believe it was real. If it wasn't me, I would not believe it was real. A miracle happened. So if you are new to my page, or if this is your first time watching any of my work, hi, my name is Gangsta Guri. I am a spiritual consultant, educator, healer, practitioner, Reiki master. I do the things, okay? Conjurer, like you can call it a bunch of different shit. Tarot reader, that's what I do. Tarot card readings, candle work for clients, also spiritual baths. I would do a bunch of stuff. And I've been doing this work for quite some time. I would say about 3 to 4 years now consistently, 7 to 8 years subconsciously. Some of you guys know what that means, but I was blessed. A miracle, a blessing, a surprise, and a testament to a couple of things in my life about being authentic and being open and asking for help, something that I struggle with so much. And I know I struggle with it because of my foundation around it, my foundation in regards to my family and just like what that's always looked like and the negative connotations that have come with it. And then also the idea of continuing to do the work, even if you don't see all of the benefits like in the moment. So just for context, if you have been in my life recently, seen any of my most recent posts, I was just almost evicted. I have been homeless before. So for backstory, for context, and if this gets long, whatever, it's my fucking business. My business is already put out there. Let's keep it a buck. I moved to New York back in 2014. I moved to New York because I wanted a chance. I was a graduate student at the University of Pittsburgh. I was there for my PhD in Hispanic languages and literatures. I went to Morehouse College for a bachelor's degree in international studies in Spanish, and I ended up at this program because my parents told me, you know, after you leave school, you never go back. So as I was getting ready to graduate, I graduated the #1 senior in Spanish, the Spanish department with a 3.93 GPA. I knew that I would be able to get into a foreign language program if I applied places. So I ended up in I applied to master's programs, PhD programs. Got into 2 PhD programs, ended up choosing the one that was closest to home, which was Pittsburgh. Never been there before, never knew it existed until I got there. It was hell. It was a wonderful experience for growth purposes, but that was when I was drinking a lot, drugging a lot, going out every weekend, blacking out, waking up in unfamiliar places, having sex with unfamiliar people, putting myself in just like crazy situations, things that happen in our 20s. And during my second year, I was a TA. I was teaching Spanish. And your salary, because I had gotten a scholarship, I went on a full ride. Thank the Lord. I went on a full ride, and the first year you get a scholarship that covers things, you know, you get your student loans, whatever. And that's what I had to do in order to survive the second year. But because I was a TA, you get paid less. And I was not going to be able to continue on in that program because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I mean, I knew enough. I knew enough to get by because I knew enough to be able to write a master's thesis. Basically my focus, my concentration was on homosexuality and Afro-Latinidad in the Spanish-speaking Caribbean. So what I focused on was literature that was originated by people who identify as Afro-Latino that wrote about race in the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, wrote about sexuality, wrote about gender. And my first summer in graduate school, I traveled to Cuba to do research, and I had interviews with poets, interviews with teachers, interviews with random, it was just a lot. But I couldn't do it anymore. I just felt so tapped out. And imagine going from like, not no shade, but like rinky-dink Morehouse's curriculum to where everybody is like in their 30s, been teachers, been authors, been writers from Latin America, from South America. And you sitting there like, bitch, I'm 22. So I had to go. And my best friend, Charles, he lives in New York at the time. He still lives here. And I wanted to move closer to him. I was also in a place of looking for love. So I wanted to move closer to, you know, or move to a city where I could find me a man. And let me tell you, I was born in New York. I was born in Queens. Ooh, the spirit had got something to say. She said, get through it. Okay. Born in Queens, whatever. Anyway, ended up in New York, came here to find a job, wanted to figure out my purpose. And ended up living on a family member's couch for about 9 months, got arrested for public intoxication, woke up in a hospital. Alcohol had a really big hold over my life. So I've been fighting that, and I finally have won the battle recently. But back and forth for years. And I finally made a decision to stop it when I got evicted from my first apartment. So I used to live with a lesbian couple. Never lived with women before since I went to an all-boys school, except for my mom. And they were a Caucasian couple, so it was just very left field. That was a time that was very dark. I was living in a box, paying more than I pay for the one-bedroom apartment that I live in now, and was just hiding behind that door, drinking myself into comas regularly. And I would come in at crazy times, make noise, whatever. Got evicted from that place. Was homeless for about a month and a half, and literally prayed and manifested this apartment that I'm in right now, where I live by myself. I have a one bedroom in New York, in Bed-Stuy. That's very hard to find, and it's only $10.50. So it's a blessing. So I've been here for 3 years now, and recently I just got sick because I was working in schools here in New York. I ended up getting a teaching job in September of 2014, taught in elementary school for 2 years in an all-girls school. Wonderful experience, beautiful experience. Second year was a little rough. Both of those years were rough. The first year I was going back and forth to probation. The second year I was the lead teacher a supporting teacher with the lead teacher circling and cycling out. So I was the only consistent figure in the girls' lives, and was dealing with a lot of conflict within the forum. So I moved to high school, taught Spanish at one high school for a year, wanted to leave for bigger opportunities, ended up at the new high school, took on about 3 different roles. I was a Spanish department head, instructional coach, teaching other teachers how to teach. And then the first year I got really sick because stress, didn't really know what was going on. My body was revolting against me. I would wake up with migraines, wake up throwing up, literally would call out of work. I don't even know how many days I missed. I probably missed the equivalent of like 2 to 3 months worth of school, maybe in that first year. The second year, I can't even tell you. It was definitely at least 4 to 5 because of just waking up being ill. There would be times where I suffer from depression, suffer from anxiety, suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, from all the things that I've experienced in life, and the things that have happened to me. And I've been in therapy for years, been to doctors, been on medication, the whole 9. And I was just in a really dark place, fighting, trying to stay sober. Good for, a couple months, fall back. Good for a year and a couple months, fall back. So going back and forth and just fighting for my fucking life, being in a place where I felt the energy taking everything out of me while ascending, while doing the spiritual work, while posting all of this stuff regularly, right? So comes to my second year. I ended up on disability in November, was in disability right until Christmas break. So that way I was able to take the Christmas break, came back. So the second year I transitioned from doing all that work to only being part-time. My body literally cannot get up and leave this house before a certain time. Like, it's just like, it would feel like I could not get up. Like, I really could not. I would just be sick. So I changed my time from 9:15. Like, we would have to get there at 7:20. I am not a morning person. Like, I be up, but I don't be functioning. I be doing things for me at this time of the day. And around noon, around 1 is when I feel like a person that can talk to other people. It's just how I am. It's how I've always been. I just try to not accepted. Because even when I was a TA in Pittsburgh, my class started at 12. Okay? So the position that I had was not sustainable for me, and it just didn't work out. It just exacerbated all the issues. So essentially ended up sick again, and I had to get these things called endoscopies, where they stick a tube down your throat. They look at your stomach, look at like what's going on. I got 2 of those, one in March of 2018, February 2018, which spanned from me being out of work for about a month until about April. And then one in May of this year, which was the last time that I worked. So I went on disability again in May of 2019 because I was still waking up, throwing up. Nothing had changed from the year before. The symptoms had gotten worse. And I really didn't know what was going on. And of course, I'm in the middle of like this awakening, and I'm like, what is going on with my body? I don't know what's going on. I feel like I should be in the bed. Going to work, it's like I'm trying to teach these kids and be, a guiding light. And I'm being as transparent as possible with them, because that's all I can do is be myself. Tails wants me to tell you, this is Tails. This is my birthday gift from my best friend for my 28th birthday. Vulpix is my favorite Pokemon. He's been keeping me safe. But I ended up in disability one more time in May. And this time around, the first couple times I had savings. I've been putting money away, because I never knew what was going to happen. But this time when it came around, because I had not been working consistently enough because I'd been so sick, I didn't have any savings. And my body would literally be revolting against me to the point where in May, I actually got into an altercation, a fight, drunk. Scary shit. I'm literally laying it all out here. Whatever. It's already out there on some old podcast episode. If you shout out to my big sis, Maria, the Oprah Complex. I speak about addiction there, so you can check that out and listen to that whole story. I don't want to bore you with that. But in May, I ended up taking time off. Got into a bunch of crazy situations. It felt like all of the 5 years, between May and June, I would say, I got robbed twice. My computer, phone, clothes, my tarot cards, everything, like my book bag, everything of my possessions was taken from me, on account of kind of just like drinking to blur the lines, drinking to escape, and not knowing how to control it, and like not surrendering as much as I could, and not asking for help, and trying to hold it all down by myself. I'm so, and always have been the person, like I do my work for the collective, for the good of others, to be able to give them the knowledge that I learned, because I've always been the type of person to pay it forward. That's why I was in education and have been in education for as long as I have been. It's always been about sharing the knowledge, because when the knowledge was passed on to me, I was always ever so grateful. So all I've ever wanted to do is pass that on as well. And with that, my tarot card readings started to get, even more in depth. When I was doing my work, that's when I felt at home, my spiritual work. And everything just started, as I continued to put into myself, I started to notice the shift. And when I got robbed in Delaware, which is the most random state, I was traveling home, drunk on a train, fell asleep, wake up, police officers are surrounding me. They booked me. I end up in the middle of Delaware, and in my drunken mind, not sensible mind, want to go to a bar because that's the only place that's open. I hadn't been working, so I had no money. I hadn't been doing any tarot card readings because I was traveling. And the blessing I had gotten was from a professor from college who had sent me money out of nowhere without me even asking. And that was the money that I had to sustain me throughout that whole trip. Because I didn't even pay for it. I went to Atlanta to go see my family, which allowed me to close some chapters as far as my sexuality, their acceptance of it, and just my own personal being. My acceptance of my spirituality, my acceptance of my connection with God, my acceptance of my connection with God in all forms, and of the work that I do in order to further his kingdom, further this work, and further the understanding of us all having the power within ourselves to make things happen and make things shake, and being that bitch to push people. And then I ended up in Maryland to go to my best friend's mom's house, which I ended up having kind of like a moment where I had to heal a lot of the sexual trauma that I had experienced and didn't realize it. As a victim of sexual assault, I was assaulted at the age of 9, the age of 19, the age of 23 by 3 different men. And I've always felt like it was me, and I never knew why. I never knew how I ended up in those situations because I never intended upon. It was always like wrong place, wrong time. So there was a lot of guilt around that. And I had to learn, and I'm still learning, that it's not my fault. And I did what I had to do to survive. And that's been my life always. I've always had to do what I had to do to survive. And I've always been on a roller coaster of life, but I've always been thankful for the protection because I could have died. I could have been dead this summer, truly. And I'm still here. And all I kept hearing is continue to do the work, share the message, share the blessings, which is the reason why I started going from just posting about the tarot card readings and doing the pulls and putting them on my timeline to actually doing videos. Whether my breath is stank first thing in the morning because the message comes in, whether it's whatever comes, I just feel like it's necessary to share whenever it hits me. And all I feel like I'm here to do is be of service, and all I could do is lean into that. So as I wasn't able to return back to work because short-term disability was supposed to end on June 17th, my incident as far as my robbery was on June 11th. So I had just exited that time frame, and my mind was not in a space to return back. My skin had broken out to the place where my whole face, arms, legs, groin, thighs, legs was broken out in a stress rash for a month and a half. And I couldn't afford the medication to be able to get my skin back in order. I couldn't even sleep for a month because I was itching and scratching so much because of the anxiety, because of all of the things that were weighing on me, thinking about this rent that I had to pay. Because to be quite honest, I hadn't really been able to pay because I hadn't been getting paychecks for quite some time. Disability came through in November, but it didn't come through this summer. They only would help out for maybe like $100, $200 a week, and New York is expensive. Even trying to, keep up with stuff, so, and be sensible about it. So things were hard. I was pushing my readings, pushing my work, pushing my content for the greater good, but also that was the way that I'd be able to eat, be able to get to interviews, because I'm still interviewing for jobs as we speak. And all I can do is be patient. And what I've learned is that I can't move on my own time always. Sometimes I just have to move on God's time and let him do the work. And all I can do is just sit and wait and be patient and release the hold, release the desire to have control that I always have learned how to have from my father in regards to doing everything. I quote, because the night of the blessing, we had a conversation. He says, I'm always going to grind for mine. I'm always going to make sure I do. I ain't never going to ask for help because I don't know how to do that. And that's the mentality, and that's the narrative I've grown up with. So in all of this, of course, rent is adding up. Because I paid a security deposit, I was able to cover June and July's rent. I got a final check for my job, which was able to, and it was short. Both of the checks that I got were short, about $1,500. So I wasn't even able to cover rent for August, and I wasn't even really able to give my landlord anything because all of my bank accounts were in the negative. So of course, in order to bring it to the positive, some of the money had to go there. So I wasn't able to pay rent since July. August, I was able to give a couple of $100 because I had to overdraft my account in order to do that. And everything that I was bringing in from tarot card readings, because that would not be consistent. It would be every here and there. Every day, maybe. Sometimes on good days, I would do my, pulls for the collective. And if people wanted to donate, they could. But I wasn't compelled to. And I would just be grateful for whatever came in because that would help me, with my bad habits like smoking, which I'm trying to quit. I can be transparent about that. That's the goal for 30 in the 30s. Smoking cigarettes and stuff. That's something I've been battling with since I was 20. Stress. But at the end of the day, and then I would use it for food if I was hungry. Sometimes I would be too stressed to eat because in the back of my mind, I would be literally worried about rent every day and thinking about whether or not I was going to get a job to be able to sustain, waiting on somebody to contact me back. It's like I would go to these interviews, show up as myself, and everybody be like, "You're great," and would comment on the way that I'm dressed, whether it's my nails or maybe my head is covered, because spiritually, I keep my head covered in unfamiliar places because people be talking and it just keeps me distracted and I don't feel comfortable. I start getting overwhelmed. It really heightens my anxiety. No bullshit. The last couple of months that I worked in my last job, my head was covered regularly. And if anybody at my job or former job watches this, they can honestly remember and comment on that. And it was like I would always be just like right there, make the connection, connect with somebody, but just miss the mark. But I was doing everything that I needed and everything that I could, and was here and just keep doing what you're doing and you're going to receive a blessing. And this past Sunday, I'm sitting in my house doing I do a weekly tarot pull for Twitter on my Periscope, which is going to start transitioning into my current podcast, which is Mystic Moments. Mystic Moments podcast, which is on through the Flawless Noises Media Network, flawlessnoises.com. Mystic Moments is on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, RSS feeds, all that type of shit. You can find it literally anywhere. But I do these every week, and this past week was all about kind of just like patience, abundance coming your way. There's a blessing coming your way because you're doing the work. And I'm just like, thank you, because I had been thinking about the fact that I needed rent paid. My landlord gave me until October. She let me have until October. She knew I was sick. She knew I was going through stuff. I'd been to the hospital twice within the last couple of months. I went to the hospital in April. I went to the hospital in July because I had in June, because I had kind of like a mental breakdown essentially after getting back from being arrested and being robbed in Delaware. And she gave me until October. And right after the show that I posted, I get in the shower and I'm performing Reiki on myself. I got music going. Sometimes the music likes to cut out. So I'm thinking that, maybe that's what's happening. But then I hear the music of a phone call. And I hop out the shower. I notice it's her. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, well, I was just thinking about her anyway. So I'm glad that we're getting to talk. So I can let her know what's going on. So I tell her everything that's been happening, how I've been interviewing places. I've been going to social services. With the social services location that I went to, I had to wait a month to get in. When I finally got in, they told me to go to this financial services like budgeting class, which I did, go to this renter's assistance class, which I did in renter's rights. So I learned some stuff about just like the things and just like my household in general, about it being like a private household because I only live in this building with one other family essentially. And how it's different from like a subsidized housing or like regular renting in New York City. So I'm figuring out all this information, called it unemployment, submitted my claim, couldn't submit it for quite some time because unemployment couldn't hit until I was actually unemployed, which wasn't technically until my contract was up in August. So I was able to put that in, but of course that takes time for them to process your claim, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It had been 2 to 3 weeks at that point. Everything had not gone through. Tried calling, tried doing my part, still was not finding the break. She calls me and she's talking about evicting. Like literally, like, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Like, no listening to me. Like, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And my heart just sank. I started shaking, like violently shaking, because I was just so scared. Because I had been there before. I had been in a place where I didn't know where I was living. I stayed with a former coworker at that time who was on a tour of Europe for 3 fucking weeks, which was so ironic at that time. And she wasn't gonna be in her apartment, so I was able to help her pay half her rent because I was only transitioning from job to job. I was still getting a paycheck. It was still in the same company. This time around, it's not like that. I've been on disability for so long, been out of the system for so long, been sick for so long, literally still experiencing, like when I would go to some of these interviews, come back home and be sick for 3 days because the energy just was not right. And it was a sign, and it was something that it was like, it just doesn't feel right, but I know I got to do what I got to do. It was like I was pushing against my intuition. And I'm telling her, I'm explaining, like, I just need some time because some friends had told me to ask for help earlier in the week, and my pride got in the way. My pride truly got in the way, and I couldn't go to my family. Both of my parents had gone bankrupt before. Family, any other extended family members don't have it. They know what's going on, and if they have help, they've given all that they could, and that was enough to just get through, be able to pay a phone bill so my phone doesn't get cut off, because that's the way that I do work. My internet was already off. My electricity was about to get cut off, so it was just like, got to figure out a way to make something work. Got to figure it out. Grasping at straws every day. But I asked her, I was just like, let me just have one more chance. I was like, look, I'm willing to go to whatever extent to prove to you that I am not taking advantage of you. I'm doing my best, and I will find a way. So I reached out to a friend that I knew owned a company, event services company or event planning. Figured out something to be able to help with that. And the other thing that I did, a friend of mine was like, you should ask your social media following. He was like, you've done enough work for them to want to be able to help you and want to be able to support you. You should do it. And I had thought about it, and I was like, no, I just have a feeling something's going to come through. But she lit a fire under my ass and scared the fuck out of me, to the point where I just hopped on Twitter. I called my friend. Shout out to my homeboy, Azim. I called him first and just melted because I didn't know what to do. But I was like, I gotta suck it up. And this is literally me humbly putting my business out there that I do not want to right now. But I have no fucking choice, and I cannot leave this place, because this place is the only solitude I have. My family lives in Georgia. They're far. Didn't have any money in my account to get to them. They don't have any money to get me to them. This is the only place that I've had that feels stable. And I've worked so hard to keep it. I've never had an issue with rent in my entire life. That's the one thing I always made sure that I paid. This is the first time I've ever had an issue like this. And I was like, God, please. Spirit, please. Universe, ancestors, ascended masters, guides. God, just please guide me, and just whatever I need to say. I'm just being honest, and I'm putting it all out there because I just need a miracle. I need a blessing. And I can't even put into words the blessing that came. Now, I was sat in here, and of course I burn my candles. I do my spiritual work. I've been doing, if you could see the notes that I write to myself every night, I do this thing called the pillow method I saw about a month ago, where I write out the intention that I want to see for the next day. And every day it would be something around either love, because let's be real, I'm single and I'm lonely. All my friends are in relationships. I'm about to hit 30. My hormones are shifting into that I want to build a family place, honestly. And if it's not about that, it was about getting this rent paid, figuring out a job. The job is secured. The rent is paid. Petitions to God, petitions to the universe. You don't even know. For months that I was working on that. And the blessing that came through, I put up all of my, ability to contact me. And I was like, look, if you can't donate, if you can't help, please just send a positive message. And people donating and sending positive messages, out the game. Putting the GoFundMe up. That was something that I, of course, was like, should I? My little brother, shout out to my little brother, Emmanuel, was like, do it. You need to. So I just was honest, shaking, and writing everything that I was going through in that moment. And I shared it on Facebook because, I don't know, just felt, and I shared it on my timeline as well. So, some people, if they felt more compelled to go that route, they could. And finances just started coming in. Blessings started coming in. And all I could do was cry. All I could do was run around this house. I hit my goal of being able to pay her back because she told me, this was the other key that I think lit the fire under my ass. She told me, you're not going to be able to do it. She told me you're not going to be able to do it. And I said, watch me. You can see my fingers shaking. I said, watch me. And in 6 hours, she had her back pay, $1,920 sent directly to her. I know she was gagging. That's the blessings that God can do when you submit fully, when you fully submit to the Spirit, when you fully submit to something that is outside of your own understanding. Those are the blessings that can appear in your life. That is the last thing that I thought that I would have to do. I knew it was an option, but it was the last option, last resort, because I wanted to be able to get it together myself. I wanted to handle it myself because I've always figured it out myself. Always done it by myself. I've had people help me along the way, give me advice, but I always have tried to, because I don't want people to see me hurting. I don't want people to think that, I'm not good. I've always made it seem like I have to have it that way. And, of course, I offered my services. So, of course, people are hitting me up, not just to give me support, but also like they want to get readings. The last time I checked, I think it was at least 4,500 retweets, 4,500 likes at minimum. I'm not sure the reach that it had, but I will say that at this very moment in time, August rent is paid, September's rent is paid, October's rent is paid, my electricity bill is paid, my internet bill is paid, my phone bill is paid off, my credit card bill is not paid off but they're not gonna shut it off. I had an express card that I was trying to build credit on, was able to pay part of that, and was able to give back to the community that gave to me. Because of course, when you receive, you have to give back. And I received so much in abundance, and I'm so grateful, have so much gratitude, that I had to make sure that I was putting money in the pockets of the people that supported me because I had it. And I've been in a mission of paying it forward ever since in whatever way that I can. Whether that's giving my punch card at the coffee shop for free coffee to the person behind me, just for them to have it. Just something. Continuing to do my work. That's all I can do. And I'm super grateful. My birthday is next month. I don't have to worry about, for my 30th birthday, whether or not I'm gonna have a place to stay. I'm good. The blessings are pouring in, and this is just the beginning, and I can only imagine where it's going. This is just the beginning. I feel like I've stepped into a new reality, and that was the last test that I needed in my 20s in order to step into my 30s, really being the baddest bitch without any fucking thing holding me back, without any person, without any situation, because I have full faith, and I always told people that I had faith that everything was gonna be okay, because I had a level of peace that I was able to come to because I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing as far as doing his work and spreading the message, spreading the knowledge. We're all about love. We are here to love each other, and we are here to support one another. That's the reason why we are born from someone else. You have to be conceived by the assistance of another person, of another, another physical vessel. We're here to support one another and love one another. And it's important that we make sure that we are doing our part to support in whatever way we can. And sometimes it takes a little bit more than what you imagine it to be, or it comes in the way that feels the most authentic to you. Mine is through service and through knowledge, because God has given me the knowledge to be able to share, to be able to put the batteries in a bitch back and send them off. And I'm grateful, and all I do is continue to give thanks and continue to do the work, because it allows me to be at my highest vibration, my happiest self. And even when I didn't have, even when I was sitting in here, scaly as a bitch, even the saddest moments, I was still my happiest self. Gratitude. So if you're watching this and you helped me, I send blessings 300,000 fold back to you. I send blessings 300 fold back to you. And if you're here and just seeing this message, I send blessings to you for even watching this and getting this far. And I can only imagine what's to come. I have full faith, because this is all I've ever wanted. My dreams, I'm gonna be very honest. I grew up around reality TV, watching reality TV. I watched The Real World. That was The Real World Survivor. I'm a Survivor stan, okay? Seen every season, been to meet people. It's a thing. It's a thing. And I've just always felt like there's a message, and I've always been interested in just being able to share that message with a larger community. And being able to continue to share the message now. I love what I do, and I love being able to contact and communicate with everybody, because I'm still at a place where I'm small enough so that way I can communicate and like interact with everybody that interacts with me. But I'm ready to take it larger. I'm ready to travel. I'm ready to take this healing work international. I'm ready to write about this healing work. I've been a writer since I was 10 years old. I have my journal since I was 10 years old in this house. All of the feelings. And I've been journaling at various points in my life, my whole life. And I'm about to be 30 in a certain amount of days. What's today? 24th? So about 33 days? 33. Good old number 30. Good old number 3. But no. All I can do is smile. It just feels so freeing. And I know that my truth, my story, my honesty can hopefully be an inspiration to somebody else. Because if it wasn't me, I wouldn't believe it. I'm being so fucking real. Oh. We ain't doing that up in here, Miss Thang. Not this gnat came out of nowhere, sis. Sis, do not do that to me. Anyway, so that must be, it's time to wrap it up. Okay? But no, I'm ever so grateful. And thank you for being a part of this journey. All I can do is show gratitude and continue to do the work with a smile, with an open heart. Continue to learn, because I'm not perfect. I never claimed to be perfect. I'm learning every day. I continue to do this, help people, do these readings. I love doing readings but I make sure that the energy is right. Make sure the energy is right and follow the energy the way it's supposed to. And I just hope that it continues to be a blessing, be a light, be a vessel for somebody one day. But this is Gangsta Gary, or Gary. Just saying thank you. Miracles are real. If you sit in a state of allowing yourself to be blessed and receiving, you can. Karma is real. Make sure that you give as much as you receive. Spread love. It's the human way. Hallelujah, holla back. I'm gonna go get my nails done because I deserve. Thank you, God.